Good morning, Judy from Thistledew Creations. Continuing on with my advent calendar project. It's for a swap that I'm doing with one of the Facebook groups where we have to do an advent calendar for a partner. And what I decided to do for it was to do an ephemera holder that I will leave fairly neutral, and I've got the pages made out of this craft paper cardboard cardstock. This is the sheet of cardstock that they put between the layers on cases of water at the grocery store. I was picking up a couple of cases for my hubby a few weeks ago, and I uncovered one of these, completely uncovered it. So I grabbed it, folded it in half, put it on the bottom of my cart, and no one stopped me, so I took it home with me. I'm sure they just throw them in the garbage or the recycling, so they didn't care. But it's really thick and kind of rustic looking. I did have these ones under some heavy weight overnight, so they're a little flatter. But you can see it has some ripples, and you can even see the bottoms of the bottles of water in this one. But I figured with some weight on them, they'll flatten out pretty good and make a nice book. So the only thing that's kind of odd about this, and I realized after, it might be an odd thing to find somewhere to store this because I've made it kind of square. Now it might end up being more rectangular by the time I'm done. I'm not sure how I'm binding it yet. I might end up making a fold here as part of the binding process. I probably won't get to that today. But I just wanted to show you sort of the next step. I think in the last video, I started to work on these little pockets. Actually, we did a video of decorating envelopes that are going to go in the pockets with napkins. I haven't really done much else with those yet. They're dry now, so I could decorate them. Maybe I'll do some of that today in another video. But I wanted to show you how I was putting together these pages. So this I don't want to be Christmas themed. I made the pockets Christmas themed because it is an advent calendar. But my idea was that this will be something she can use all year long. She can replace these envelopes with her own ephemera of whatever she wants. And because there's going to be 12 pages, what have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to do the other 2 pages with you today. But because there's going to be 12 pages, I thought what I would do is do a page for each month and do like just a basic color scheme theme kind of thing. And then if she wanted to, she could use it for ephemera that goes with that month. Like, so for January, I thought I would do sparkly things and snowflakes for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and winter in general. And then for February, I would do pink and red and hearts and flowers. March, I would do Celtic and clover and green and gold. And then April and May and June, July, I'll do summery things. And then into August, I'll do sunflowers, and September, more fall and autumn stuff. And then October, of course, Halloween. And then November, poppies, December, Christmas. So the last page will be Christmas likely. And then for the 25th, this kind of is going to be part of the gift for the 25th, but then I'll figure out something else, maybe a little small Christmas journal or something that can be her Christmas present. But I thought this would be fun, and I do have some stuff picked out to put in these envelopes, but I haven't completely decided yet. I'm still coming up with ideas, so I want to send it on Monday, so I got to pull it together. That's why I want to get this done today. And I thought I would film. I did this last night, put all these envelope pockets onto these pages. And I thought I would do the other 2, like I said, with you so you can see the process all the way through. I just didn't want to make you watch me ink all of these and glue them all on here. So we'll do just a couple together. So first thing is I've got the envelopes I've got a couple more of the envelopes done, but I wanted to still show you how I did it. So I've got one here that I can do. And all I did was I took a government envelope like this, and I cut it with my ripple scissors right here. And then I gotta grab my ripple scissors. Oh, they're right here. Good. And then I cut some music paper, and I didn't want to make it Christmassy music paper. I want to save that for Christmas projects. This isn't really a Christmas project. It's just an ephemera holder. And I'm kind of liking how this is going to turn out. I think I'm going to end up doing something like this for myself. So then I just took a page out of a music book, and I took my ripple scissors and cut it about the width of the envelope. Well, this one says something about the Star of Bethlehem, so it is actually kind of Christmassy. I try not to look at what the music is, I just use it. Same with book pages. I do look for like really bad things to not be. I don't want to have like something about a murder or a suicide or anything like that on my book page, but I don't really worry too much about what it says. Most of it gets covered up and you're not supposed to be able to read it. Then I'm cutting that off just so that I can save some extra little snippets, because I do use small pieces in collage all the time. I only need it to cover in behind this window in the envelope. And it doesn't matter about the back because that's going to be completely, it's going to be glued down. I pondered making them pockets. Like it's going to be a pocket here, obviously, and then another little pocket here for a tag. So I've got, where's my tag that I used? I used this tag as a guide. It's 2 inches wide. So that's going to be in there probably with something pretty facing out. And then I was still deciding what to do up here. I think I might use the tops that I cut off and make another little pocket or tuck spot up here. I'm not sure yet. It might not be this. It might be something else. That's a little far ahead. But just in case you hadn't seen the other videos, you might want to go back and watch, but try to re-explain it anyway. So I was thinking about either putting the number on the tag, like the number for the days of the Advent, but I could also use this little flap here. But this might be where I want to decorate for the season too, like hearts or flowers or shamrocks or whatever. So I've got this little square that I can decorate. I'm going to leave the rest of this fairly plain. And I had to put, I didn't have to, but I put these bits of book page on to cover up some handwriting that was on a couple of the envelopes. So then I just did it to all of them so they look the same. And this is another place I can put stickers or a little bit of a collage as well. As I get further into the project, I'll kind of make those decisions. But so I've got my paper, my music paper cut. I'm obviously going to glue on the index side of it. And I'm just using glue stick for this. And I get these at the Dollarama. They're $2.50 each at the Dollarama. I'm always looking to find them on sale somewhere. I'd love to get them for about $1 a piece, but I think that's a pipe dream. Those days are gone, I think. We still have a Dollar Tree in Coburg, but it's not $1.25 even like it is in the States. It's all different prices throughout the store. $1.50, $1.75, some things are $2, even higher. So that's that. And then I've got a little box of book page scraps that I keep ready for collaging. And actually, just to label it, I just put a piece of book page on the front of it. I do a lot of that. Instead of making a label that says what it is, I just put what it is. So at a glance, you can see that's what you're going to get in that box. And then I just took my ripple scissors. I don't remember if these were torn or rippled, but the effect is pretty much the same, whether I use my tear ruler or my ripple scissors. And so these little snippets that I'm cutting off are going back in the box. These, when I do them, I cut them all the same size. And sometimes I'll sit and ink a bunch of them because sometimes I want inking and sometimes I don't. Usually I do. And just having some pre-inked saves a little bit of time. especially if I want to do a quick video. Or if I'm doing up Happy Mail and I want to decorate an envelope to send something, it's quicker and easier if it's already pre-cut and inked for me. Oops. And on all of them, I'll check them again as I go through, but I put the writing to the right. I just do that. I've explained it a couple of times in videos. It's like some people want all the writing facing up. If I'm going to put it sideways, I want it the right side, the bottom of it to be on the right side. Makes it easier on the eyes when you're flipping through a book if it's all the same. And then I take my tag, the size that I'm going to use, and then I fold that over and leave a little bit. It doesn't really matter if they're all identical because they're not going to be seen at the same time. I mean, you'll see two of them on the pages that are facing each other, but it's not critical. And then because some of them had writing from the back of the envelope, not all of them had that. Like this one just has that, so it was plain. But because it does, then I just get another little scrap of envelope, the same color. And I did have more. Yeah, there's so I just find some plain paper that's that same color. And I'm having very good luck here on the fly. It all has the, I have to ruin one of these. Trying to use up the ones that were kind of torn and ripped and hard to use, but I don't mind using this one. We get more of them every month. My shoebox size container full of envelopes was literally, I couldn't put any more in. I just did my dad's books. And so there was, I did 3 months worth of books. So I had about 9 envelopes to squeeze into the box because I have his Visa statement, his bank statement, and then usually there's a couple other bills that he leaves in the envelopes. So I had at least 9 envelopes to squeeze in the box and I couldn't get them in. So I thought, well, that settles it. I'm using these envelopes for this project. And it gives me ideas that I can, you know, go back and do a crafting session with some more of them. So that I didn't want book page because I've already got music and book page. I might decorate this with some other kind of paper, or I might just put a sticker or something on it. Some lace or something. I don't know yet. So I did that, and then I inked. And I'll just ink one. I've got the rest of them ready to go, so I'll just ink one to show you my process. So I go around with my archival ink ground espresso. And I do just ink the edges. And it's subtle on the brown paper, but it does make a difference. Like if you see one that isn't done, compare it to one that is done. It just makes it a little more vintage looking. And I like that. It helps a project to age well too, because if it does get old and start to get dirty, which everything does, especially paper things, especially if you're using them a lot, with a little bit of, if you're getting in and out of your ephemera holder with a little bit of glue on your fingers, for instance, then it's going to pick up whatever dirt or whatever stuff is on your desk. So if it's already kind of rustic, it doesn't look old so fast. Very forgiving. And then I do the little flap because it's going to be visible. When you first turn the page, this will be closed. And then you can open this flap, see what's underneath it. I like that sort of feeling of discovery. It's not going to be hiding much, but there'll be something there. I don't know what yet. So then you try to keep your inks closed up if you're not going to be using them steadily. So that I've got them so that I've got them closer to the torn edge, and then this straighter edge will likely be where my spine is. So what I did there was I just took the glue stick and put a healthy layer of glue stick on the back. And with that, I'm not going quite to the edge because I don't want to make this underneath page sticky. And I don't want to, well, I've got my book right here that I could glue on, but I tended not to use it. I've got to start using it because I've got a whole stack here. It's about 6 inches high of papers that I can glue on that I didn't want to recycle until I used them to glue on, and I just am not using them. I gotta remedy that. So then I'm putting this down in the corner like this. I'm pressing down, and like I said, I put the other ones under a weight overnight so that it really stuck down well and flattened the pages a little bit. And then I'll flip that over, and the other one I want to make sure it goes down in this same corner. So I've already got those ones ready to go. We'll do this way so that this doesn't take up so much of the video, and then we'll get on to whatever next step. I think maybe cutting some tags. I was thinking I've got the tag top punch, so I thought I would cut up some master boards and make some nice neutral tags, because I have some nice neutral master boards. And then I don't even have to decorate those. I could leave them for the recipient to decorate. So that's going to give us again our pocket and our other pocket. I'll do one more. Now this one, all of the edges are torn, and that's fine. I opened up a new bottle of Aleene's tacky glue yesterday, and these smaller bottles that I got on Amazon, I got a 3-pack of them. They came pre-punched. There was a cover inside under the cap that kept it sealed, but there was already a hole punched in the cap, which is nice and fine. So I'm really happy that I noticed that and didn't just go and cut it off, because my other one that I've been using is one that I cut off, and I cut it off too big, using too much glue and making it too messy. So I'm really happy with that. I'm going to switch to those smaller bottles for my standard bottle. I can still keep the other one full and use it for larger projects where I don't mind if it's coming out thicker. But some of the things I'm doing, like with die cuts and stuff, I need to do a very small, thin line of glue. And I was finding that I had to switch to the 3-in-1 glue, which I have in a bottle with like a needle nose. Really thin, thin, thin. But that glue makes me have a headache. So just checking to make sure I've got this in the right corner. So there's my 12 pages, both sides. So that's my 24 pockets for the Advent calendar. And then I think the 25th is going to be in the back cover of the book. The front cover will just be maybe something to introduce it as what it is, like an ephemera holder. And then the back cover will be number 25, and it'll be the bigger present, maybe a little notebook or something. Okay, so that's good. And then just to show you how those fit in, these little pockets, I planned it so that these would also fit in to the pocket when that's folded. So when it's sitting in there, it's going to look like this. And then that's where I was trying to decide up here if I add another tuck spot. Do I want to keep it just plain, or maybe some map on the front of it, or burlap? I've got burlap coming out my ears, so something like that. That's the idea. And then a number somewhere, either hanging off the tag, a removable number might be what I do. So then she has the numbers to play with and the tags to play with, and the stuff that's in the envelopes. And then up here, if I do a tuck spot, it'll just be some extra papers that are themed for that month. That's what I'm thinking. So let's cut some tags. And while we're doing that, maybe we'll be thinking about how we want to finish up the book. So I've got these two master boards that were sent to me in a swap. I thought I would use those. And then I've got this smaller one that I also got in a swap. I find it easier to cut up a master board that somebody else sent me. I've got my own as well, and I'm probably going to have to dig into them. And when I think about it, the longer I do this, I did want to save them because I love them, and I've photocopied this one a few times. But maybe what I'll do is make a few more copies, scan it into my computer. This one didn't photocopy well. It didn't even scan well, so I can use that. I might have to do some more backing on them. There's another one with the music. So that one was double-sided. Or is it two? No, it's double-sided. And I love them, but I mean, I can do more. I love doing them, so I don't really need to keep all of my masters. Might be more fun to share them. See, I did music in all different ways. That one has strips of music and then a thin strip of coffee dyed paper. And then this one was music and book page. Inked. And then just a general collage. So maybe I'll start with some of the ones that I'm not so crazy about. Because when you cut them up, it changes them completely too. Now I also have to take the time to back some of them before I cut them up. It makes sense to back them first because they're just on like file folders and thick book pages and stuff. There's a folder I made. That could maybe, no, it's too big, but I could cut it down and put it in the back as a cover on a book. I could do something like that. And there's another one out of a file folder that I covered. That one might be more the right size. If it was in the back or if it was the cover. Yeah, that might work. I could cut this down a bit so that it's like in here. Yeah, I'm not going to cut that one into tags. I might use that for the cover. And then let's see what else. Get some of these envelopes out of the way. And these scraps, I'm still deciding whether I'm using those or, I mean, I'll use them for something, but whether I'm using them for this project, I don't know. I kind of would want to keep it all neutral, but I don't want it all the same either. So I'm torn. Okay, so what can I cut up? That one needs to be backed. That one needs to be backed. All of these need to be backed. This one's ready to go. This one's ready to go, and that one's ready to go. This one is a little book that I should finish. It's a cover. That's napkin. That's napkin. And the rest is collage. This one was one where I set the papers right onto my silicone mat and just glued them to each other and then peeled it off once it was dry. And then I backed it with a printed version of one of these. So I have used the prints. You see, I printed that on beige paper. So that one I might use to make a book. This one would work good for the summer tags, maybe. And that one needs to be backed. Yeah, I think I want to use some of these, but I have to back all of those. So I'll just cut a few out of the stuff that's already backed. And that'll get us going on it. I won't make you watch me cut all of them. I need both of these, I think. And then I'll need my special tag punch. So I decided to do this size tag, which is, this does 1.5, 2, and 2.5, and this is the 2-inch. And then I think this height works, although they could be taller. I could also cut this shorter. I don't have to use the full height, but it did work well with this. So I think we're going to stick with that height. And that does allow me to add another row up here. But these could be a little taller, and then she could cut them down if she wanted. Make them more like a bookmark size. Although this is a good size. Let's see what this is. I think it's maybe 6. Yeah, just over 6. So if I made them 6 inches by 2 inches. And we'll just see how it works out with the sheets too. So for instance, this one, I think the 6 inches is because this does just over 6 inches, but not quite 7. No, it does 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it does 7 inches. So maybe I'll make them 7 inches. You don't always have to have the plan all figured out before you start. I never do. So these are coffee dyed on the back. I don't remember what kind of cardboard's in between, but it's not very thick. But it's nice and sturdy once you get paper on both sides of it. Probably cereal box or something like that. I'll put it in my cutting board at 7 inches. And I'm just kind of scoring first so that I'm not ripping those papers that are on the top. And then keep going back and forth until it's through. And then I can make tiny little skinny tags with this. So I'll round the corners, cut them into maybe 2 or 3 inch strips. I think these are really cute little tags when I make those. I've got one here. I don't think I do. I put them all in my Happy Mail bin. Anyway, that gives me 7 inches. And then I use the guillotine to make them 2 inches wide. Because I just find that a little bit more efficient. So push it into 2 inches. Let's see if it's just past. Let's see if it still cuts it all the way through. Yeah, it does. So now I know I can do 7 inch high tags with this. Squaring up that other edge. And then over to my 2 inch line. Hold down on this clear plastic thing. It stops the paper from moving before you cut or while you're cutting. I wasn't doing that at first and it would almost always shift on me. This is a Creative Memories guillotine that I bought at a thrift store. I think it was under $10. Might have been around $5. I got it in the St. Jacobs trip with my sister this summer. And I was thrilled to find it. I think it was in Cambridge. We stopped there before we went to St. Jacobs. We got off 401. Went to Cambridge first. We ended up in Waterloo. A few different towns on the way home. We took the long way home. It's about a 3-hour drive. We made it last for almost 9 hours to get home by all the little stops we made in little small towns to get all the little small thrift shops. Okay, so that gives me, out of that smallish masterboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 19 more to go. And then I'll just put this in. And that gives me a nice shaped topper and punches the hole. And then I'll round the bottom corners with my corner rounder, just the smallest one. That makes it easier to get in and out of the pockets. You leave the corners sharp, they're always catching on the pocket, and then also they can get bent easier. So this doesn't give you any corners to bend. And with the rounded top, it just makes sense to have the rounded corners at the bottom. So I like the way that that looks, and I can decorate that for just about any theme that I want. And I kind of want to look at up and down, although I don't think I paid much attention when I was doing that collage. It didn't have much writing on it, so music notes can go either way. If there's a treble clef, it tells you. Oh, that's having trouble cutting through that one. I have to stand up. Yep, that one's giving me real trouble. And it's from the same board. Let's see. Move this stuff out of the way. That one worked. This punch came from Temu. Yep, having trouble with that one too. I might have to do some fussy cutting on these. I have to remember that, because when you start with fairly thick cardstock and then you add paper to both sides, that one doesn't have paper on the back. Oh, that's my original one. It gets pretty thick, and the glue makes it harder as well. But I can go around this. It's got the impression, so I can go around and just finish it off. It's just having trouble on those edges. This one, I guess it's okay. Just a few spots that didn't want to cut all the way through. So then I can also go back in with my emery board and touch up any spots that are kind of rough. And this gives me little dots that are fairly thick. And I do have a little jar of confetti that I saved from this kind of project. Try to separate it from the rest of the debris. And then I put it in the jar. And the little thick dots can be good for raising something up instead of buying those foam dots. And I haven't figured out a use for these. I haven't been saving them yet. If anyone has an interesting use for them, let me know and I will start saving them, but for now I'm not. You just can't save everything. It's too much. I'm quickly finding it's a lot. And it's hard to organize it and keep track of it. You forget what you have. The only thing that helps me to remember all that I have is doing swaps. Because when I do a swap, I kind of go through my craft room and look in things that I haven't looked in for a while and see what I have. And sometimes it's helping me de-stash because I'm getting rid of something that I haven't been using and realize I saved it, but I'm never going to use it, kind of thing. And maybe someone else will. And if they don't, they can pass it along to someone else. And you know, if it's junk, you can always just throw it in the recycling. No one's going to be offended. If you consider it junk and you don't even want to pass it on to someone else, you do you, boo. It was given freely. So there's 7 music paper tags that I can use in my advent calendar. And now let's do maybe 7 more. This is about the same size, I think. Can't remember what this paper was. It's been so long. If there was a video on it, it would show. I can't remember if there was a video on these. I think I did them without filming. So these, how wide are these? These might already be okay. No, it's, I'm going to get another little thin strip, which is fine. So maybe I'll just do a couple of these while I'm at it. The other trick that you can do, if you find that when you put the cutter across these pages, if they're loose at all, they're going to catch. One other thing that I do is I take just a piece of paper from my glue paper pile and I put it on top, and then it's cutting through this paper first, and it doesn't lift up the papers underneath. It just goes through them a lot cleaner. And you can feel when it's gone through. Get that little strip again. I'll show you in a minute how I use those. So there's our 7 inches. And let's do another. I'm going to remake these because, you know, I made them to use them. Let's do that just shy of 7. And then you can reuse the strip that you cut off before. Get it cut into fairly thin strips by the time you're done. And then it can be recycled. That gives me a little bit wider strip that time. And let's do one more. So these will all be similar but different. I knew I was saving them for something, I just didn't know what. This might give me enough, actually. So I'm going to go just over the 2, because that doesn't seem to be straight. So I'm going to go just over the 2. And then I'll square that other side up. So that gives me a sliver that's wider at one end than the other because it wasn't a square cut piece of cardboard that I collaged on. It might have just been cut out of a cereal box or something. This one should be just wide enough. I think it's okay. I'll just put it on the edge here and see if it looks fairly even. Let's take the smallest sliver off of it. And again, I'm going to go just beyond the 2. Just a wee bit. And then I'll square this one up. A friend of mine brought me some craft supplies at work the other day. One of the girls that I work with. She brought me her molds and decals for making paper, as well as some mica powders. I've had them in my car for a couple weeks now, and I haven't brought them in the house even because I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. I don't know where I'm going to put them. It's a real problem. But I've been saying all summer that I wanted to make paper and I didn't do it. So I'm going to have to do a small batch and just do it in the kitchen this winter, which is quite doable. I don't have to do a great big batch, especially for my first try at it. And then the mica powders, I've been wanting to make some mica sprays to spritz my papers with, to give them a neat glow sometimes, not every time. But for instance, those fairy cards that I posted, they would look good with a mica powder spray over them. So that's the kind of thing. And there was several colors that she had. She's a crafter too, but she's got 2 little babies. Well, one little baby and one I think is about 2 years old. So she's quite a bit younger than me, in a different phase of her crafting life. So she was sharing some supplies with me that she was getting rid of. And then I want to make her something for the baby's rooms. They share a room right now. So I thought I'd make a dream catcher for her. So that might be a project that I share on here too, even though it's not paper crafting. I have my own way of doing them. I don't think I'll get to that this weekend. This project to finish, and a house that needs some attention, a husband that needs some attention. I'm just happy to have 2 days off in a row that I can play like this. Okay, so I had how many? 7, I think. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I need 4 more. So I'm going to have to back something, and oh, wait a sec. Something in front of me here that might work. If I want to use that. I was kind of saving that. Oh, here's some. See, I've got lots of these, but they're not backed. These could maybe be the back of a tag because they're quite plain for writing on. So maybe I'll do some collaging and make the rest of them. This one I did a video on where I've used some color and some stenciled pages or stamped pages. keep all these things thinking I grab them and use them, but they end up just sitting there blending into my background and I don't even notice them anymore. But yeah, I'll figure out something for the other tags. Use that one. So I'm not going to make you watch me do all that, but I will show you how I will finish these off. So I will definitely ink the edges of them. Just gets the edge not to look so fresh cut. And especially since the collage is inked, the edges just kind of seem to need it. Now I'm using the ground espresso here, and I'm thinking that I want to switch to the vintage photo. For one thing, my ground espresso feels like it needs some juice, but also I think this was vintage photo that I used on the collages. For this one, I'll just go over the ground espresso. And then I do a little bit on the back as well. And that way it gets the edge really well covered. Just do a couple of these and gotta glue that down. I was first, when I started doing this craft, I was always looking for tags I could buy. And I think a lot of newbies do. I don't do that anymore. I make my own tags. They're so much more unique. And you can make them any size you want. And if you've got the punches, you can make the tops any shape you want. I did a bunch of angled tags at the beginning. Just angled tops. But now that I have this, I really like the way that it finishes off the tops. The only thing about this is that it makes the hole too big for a, I want to say grommet. It is a grommet, but they call them something different in scrapbooking. The metal things that go through the hole. Why can't I think of that word? Put it in the comments. Tell me what can't remember. It's not a brad. Rami sent me a whole bunch of them. Like, I want to say a basket load, only that's not the word I'm really thinking of. And I spent several evenings in a row sorting them into colors. And then there was a few that were like little shapes. And then I shared a bunch with somebody else who didn't have any. Eyelets, that's what they call them. Eyelets. The bigger ones that you use on tarps are called grommets. That's why I always think of that word first, and then I can't think of the eyelets. I've known that word longer. This back is kind of wrinkly, but that's all right. It kind of gives it a neat aged look. The process of inking, you find your loose edges and deal with them. I ink first because it's hard to ink soggy paper that's just had glue put underneath it. See, this piece is right close to the edge. I'm surprised it's not loosening, but it probably had a fair bit of glue right on the edge of it. So just this tiny little bit. See how small that gives me a little bead of glue? I am really happy with that. And it's an upside down bottle, which I like because the glue's always ready. I'm done with glue bottles that stand up for white glue. Okay, so I'm not going to make you watch me punch them all and ink them all, but there's the first 5. And then because I can't use my eyelets, I will use my little hole protectors that I make. I do have some white plasticky ones, like from the stationery store, Staples or whatever, but I bought them at the thrift store. So you can color those if you want, but they're shiny, and this is not a shiny project. I think I want them black. I have like lots of black ones. Whenever I have scraps of cardstock, I cut more of these. These are 5/8 circles, and I have a 5/8 circle punch. And then when I'm ready to use them, like I could sit and do a bunch of holes too, but I just do them as I need them. They just take a second. And I've kind of gotten good at centering it up. You can see around the metal thing that's going to punch the hole how even you are around, and just punch that out. And then see how I did. Pretty good. You get better at it. The first few ones that I did, some of them were quite off center, but you kind of get a good eye for it after a while. You need 2 for each one if you're going to do front and back, which I am. That one has a little notch out of it, so I'll save that for something else. You can use it in collage or to make a flower or something where it's going to be overlapping. I know there's probably a punch that does this all in one, but I had this method already figured out, and I started this little box to sort all the little different colors of them. I have a lot of sorting boxes from my jewelry making days for beads, and I'm gradually switching them over. I did a swap with Rami where I sent her a small postage box, which holds quite a bit, full of beads, and it didn't even make a dent in my bead stash, actually. So if anyone out there is getting into making jewelry, or if you want some beads to make dangles for your journals, then let me know and we can do a swap for whatever you have a lot of. Because I wouldn't say thousands, I'd say I probably have millions of beads if you count all the little seed beads. Every color you can imagine. I often found, though, it seemed like it had every color I could imagine except the one I was looking for at the time. So I always had to go buy more. Okay, so that is my color protectors. And then for this, I'm going to try the tacky glue this time because I do have this new bottle with the small hole in it. I'm just looking for my tweezers. Got another pair here that I can see, but that's not the ones I'm looking for. They like to hide on me, those pretty cute little tweezers. So normally I quite often do this with the 3-in-1 glue. I'm trying not to use it unless I need to. It doesn't irritate me a lot, but if I use it all day, it does. It's smelly, it's got acetone based, so it's like you're playing with nail polish all day, or nail polish remover all day, which you can imagine can give you a headache. I just started this glue bottle yesterday, and it's already got like a crust around the nozzle. I'm just got to keep that clean to keep things tidy. And in here too, if you can keep it from getting completely full of glue, it'll stay, everything you do will just be a little tidier. Sometimes neglected and things start to get messy real quick. So I hope my partner sees the value in the time I spend making this for her. It's hard to give away my prototype the first time I do something. I usually want to keep it. I'm just going to have to get and make one for myself right away. Kind of thrills me to be using the paper from the grocery store. Makes it true junk journaling. So I need to go back and get some water again, which I do quite often. I mean, a lot of people don't like using single-use bottles, but we do get them because with Brian being on a job site, he does feel better when he drinks water throughout the day, and it just makes it easier for him. When I'm at home, I recycle Gatorade bottles and use them for, well, that one I've been using for over a year. Just wash it out and reuse it. But the water bottles that you buy in a case of 24, they're so flimsy. You can maybe reuse them a couple of times and then they start to get cloudy and icky looking, and they're hard to wash because they have a lot of ridges in them. The ridges make them easy to crush, and you can just crush them and they take up less room in the recycling bin. Make you feel strong too, be able to crush a bottle down to a flatter pancake. I think those look good with the black because of the black music. Really like that a lot. Oh, I just put glue on both sides of that. Why didn't you stop me? Oh, can I get that off, or do I have to make another one? I think it's going to be too sheeny. Put the glue on it. Oh, I like to keep it real, folks. Let's do another one. So after I get this one done, I'll show you how I'll use those little offcuts. And then we'll end this video and I will grab a coffee and rethink my next step. Maybe make the rest of the tags or back some more collage to make the rest of the tags, and I'll have to do them later once it's nice and dry. There's the first few, and I think they are lovely. It inspires me to make more masterboards. Actually, I've got a little challenge with a girl in one of the groups, and I can't remember. I'll have to go back through my messages. But we said we were going to make masterboards and compare them or swap them maybe. I can't remember, with pictures of clouds and blue skies and maybe some music or book page or something else mixed in with them. It's an idea that I've had floating around in my brain, and I've wanted to do it for a while. So I suggested it when we were talking over Messenger one day, and she says, oh, that sounds like fun. So I'll get around to that and do it and get into something I can do when I can't film is do stuff like that. Like sometimes I can't film because Brian's watching a movie, and you can't have copyrighted music or movies on in the background when you're filming. You'll get flagged, you'll get kicked off of YouTube. So I don't know if everyone realized that. So I'm going to do a little 2-inch one, and then maybe a 3-inch one. See, I didn't hold down on that, and it just went a little bit off kilter. And then I'll do another 2-inch one, and whatever that leaves me with. And so what I do with these is I will just round the corners with the smallest round over. Oops. Sometimes it just doesn't seat in there properly. If it's not square, I think is what it is. And these can be kind of just little dangles, or you could use them before I do the next step. You could use them just to back some word or something. Tiny little phrase. Get all your corners rounded. And then I'll punch a hole. See, now here it says something about a bastard and proper of sex, so why the hell? So I want to cover that, right? I don't want that being on somebody's gift or whatever. So I would go back in with probably a word or a phrase and put over top of that, or a little sticker, and cover that up. I could even put some more music over top of it. Like I've got these little strips of music, so I could do something like that. And then you won't have that kind of offensive verbiage. Might not offend everybody, but it's not pleasant, so that's kind of counterproductive for what we're doing here. So I'll just ink that up. This is a different color of beige, so it adds some interest to this little micro collage on here. And the word all of a sudden and cooing doesn't bother me at all, so I'll leave that. And see, the word bruises, I don't want that. So just fix that if you see it, you know, like you don't have to necessarily do it every time, but if it's something that you think someone might not like or that you don't like, cover it up. No harm. And then that can be put on a bulb pin or on a beaded chain, or it can be in a tiny little notebook, and it can be a miniature tag. I could even put a little cheap hole protector on there, but I probably wouldn't bother. Now let's see this one. Cracked rib could maybe go. So again, just using up all these little tiny strips that were torn off. I don't save every single one, but I have a little little Dixie cup full of them in the corner of my drawer full of music paper. And that just, again, just makes it a little more of a collage because it's a larger scale thing cut down to something small, so you kind of lose the effect, and that gives it back. And see, I'm not even re-inking. I'm using the ink that's already on my my dauber there. So this one is a little risque, something about touching her ribs and something about her blouse, but I'm not as worried about those words. I'm going to leave them. I could still add a little strip of music just for, again, so that it's more of a micro collage. I do have another little piece here. I'll just rip it. and have it something like that. It's kind of tedious inking them, but it's something I don't mind doing. I like seeing the transformation. This tiny little piece of paper becoming something special. And then you could still put a little sticker or a word on these. So if you've stayed this long and watched my shenanigans, I want to thank you very much. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Most of all, have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.